Good evening, guys, and we'll just wait for 5 more minutes for people to join, and then we'll begin shortly. Guys, please be patient. We'll start soon. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. With great honor and pleasure, I, Dipanshi, along with my co-host Sahas, welcome you all for today's career-centric webinar organized by Society of Civil and Environment Engineering (DTU). SCEE is the oldest technical society of DTU, established in 2009, providing a platform for the students to imbibe knowledge and experience related to the field of civil and environment engineering.
I am sorry, I could not hear. It was something for me.
No, sir, it wasn't. It was
The
just a very
objective of today's
Okay.
webinar is to provide
No issue,
exposure
no
to
issue,
the
no issue.
students who aim to pursue
continue.
the objective of today's webinar various global universities. Before calling on the panelists, I would first like to invite our honorable faculty advisor, Professor A.K. Srivastava sir, Dean, Outreach and Extension Activities. Sir is also Professor Delhi Government's flagship program, Desh Ke Mentor. I would request sir to please say a few words.
So, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, it's a long time. Uh, we are conducting online webinar or conferences. Uh, Now, everything is okay. I hope that we should continue doing it offline. So, but as this program is for the for taking the admissions in foreign country universities, and the our own students have joined from different part of the country who has already joined the MS program and all. So, in that circumstances, the online mm, uh, this type of conferences and webinar will be more or better because they cannot come here and we can not connect them here in Delhi. So they are joining from the different part of the country. So I am thankful or I am happy to note that SCEE is doing something. He is always the society is always vibrant, always live, and here and there they are conducting many useful conferences, webinar or seminar for for the use of the UGA students or PGA students. Even sometimes they are conducting this type of seminars for the students who are going to take other challenges like in the form of job, entrepreneurship, innovations. So I am happy that SCEE is doing this, and all the office bearer of SCEE and the members of the SCEE, and also the our own students, alumni who are joining from the different part. So I am happy that they are contributing still to the SCEE, and I am thankful to them that they have come here to share their views and ideas with the our UG and PG students. So with that, I say that thanks to the SCEE and thanks to the and welcome to the resource persons who are joining from the different universities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for those insightful words. Without further ado, we present our esteemed panelists, alumni from the Environment Engineering batch of 2022, who have also excelled and achieved their dream of pursuing MS abroad through their grit, determination, and hard work. All of them are distinguished members of SCEE DTU itself. First, we have Anushka Raj ma'am, who has received admits from Stanford University, University of British Columbia, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, Bengal University, University of Texas, Austin, Texas A&M University, University of California, Los Angeles, University of Michigan, and Ann Arbor.
Our next panelist is Nimisha Singla ma'am, who has received admits from Stanford University and the University of California, Berkeley.
At last, I'd also like to welcome Ariba Khalid ma'am, who has received admits from the University of Michigan, University of British Columbia, and Colorado State University.
Now, we move on to the most awaited part of the webinar. We would like to panelists to join us on a journey that has finally led them to achieve their dreams. It would indeed be very beneficial for the current students to learn about the preparation strategies, highs and lows that our panelists went through during their undergraduate years that made them such exemplary seniors.
The panel members will now share with us an outline of what encompasses a good application that stands out from the multitude applications received by these esteemed international universities. Furthermore, they will share details of their individual portfolios and personal experiences throughout their remarkable journey. We request Nimisha ma'am to please present her screen and take over. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dipanshi and Sahas. Hi, good afternoon, all. Am I audible? Can Dipanshi and Sahas?
Yes, Nimisha,
Okay,
you
great.
are.
So I'll just right away share my screen and then we'll get right into it. Yeah, all good?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am, you can
yes,
continue.
Nimisha.
Great. So, Anushka?
All right. So, hello everyone. Um, Welcome to today's webinar that is being hosted by me, Ariba, and Nimisha. And we're glad that all of you are attending, and we hope that you are able to take away something from what we, put forth today. So, without further ado, I'll be starting out by introducing myself. So, I'm Anushka. I am going to be attending Stanford University to pursue my master's in civil engineering with a specialization in environmental engineering. And right when I entered DTU, I wanted to, I had it pretty clear that I wanted to pursue a master's. However, during these 4 years here, my decision just cemented further and further, depending on various experiences that I had. And Ariba, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone. I'm Ariba Khalid, and I'm an incoming fresher at the University of Michigan. I'll be pursuing a master's degree in environmental engineering from the Rackham Graduate School of University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. So, I'll be sharing. I'm really happy to be a part of this conversation, and really would like to thank Ski for inviting me to this talk. So I'll be sharing my experiences, my application experience. Hope you all find it helpful, and I welcome you all here. Nimsha, over to you.
Right. I'm Nimisha and I'll be joining Stanford University. And I'm super stoked to be talking to you all about my journey and my motivation. And hopefully, you will have something to gain. And I'm also looking forward to answering your questions. So I would actually advise you all to make a note of them. Maybe have something handy. You don't skip out on it. All right. Over
Yeah.
to you, Anushka.
All right. Other than that, I would just like to say that the entire admissions journey, it's a long process. If you are committed towards getting a master's, then you know that you might have to cut down on placements or internships somewhere, right? So it's a very I would say it takes a strong-willed person to commit to this journey, because it takes a long time, and then if you get rewards, it's just 1 month of decisions, but over that 11 months of just pure hard work waiting for results, and takes kafi determination to brace. So just this process will teach you a lot in the entire journey. And so we'll today be walking you through what our journeys were like, as well as giving you a brief outline of the entire process as well. So before starting out, we have a small disclaimer. Nimsha, could you switch to the next slide, please? Nimsha?
Is it not visible? The
No,
disclaimer.
not visible. Not to me, at least.
Is it not visible to anybody?
No, it's not. It's just a
No, it's not
disclaimer
visible
page.
to you.
Oh, you're done with the disclaimer?
Yeah.
डिस्क्लेमर पे नहीं आया है निमिषा अभी.
आ गया है.
Well, go ahead, Anushka.
मुझे क्यों
I
नहीं दिख रहा?
Oh,
see
it's
the
okay.
head.
Anushka,
Okay, now I see it.
all
Okay,
right,
I just
great.
okay. Maybe net issues. So all our advice is based on our personal experiences. None of this advice can guarantee you a place anywhere. The only advice that is guaranteed to give you something is that work hard for all 4 years, have a great GPA, work on as many internships as you can, uh, discover a niche in your field that you want to go into. If you have all of this in mind, then yes, you'll definitely get in somewhere. But our tips are apart from all of these basic strategies. So what worked for us might not work for any of you at all. So please keep that in mind while you're applying any of the advice that we put out today. Okay, moving on. So we'll be presenting a brief timeline, because that, of course, is a very important part of your application, right? कि कब start करें, what is a good time to start applying for your masters. So the first step before you're deciding, before you're sending out your applications and everything, the first step would be shortlisting universities. This process sounds very small, but it's a very elongated process which takes a lot of time, energy, and a lot of intelligence as well, because there are 20, 25, 30 great places to study, right? Even अगर तुम सिर्फ रैंकिंग के हिसाब से जाओ तो भी you can apply in the top 20 colleges. But each college, when you actually set out, it takes like 10,000 रुपए लगते हैं एक कॉलेज में अप्लाई करने के लिए. So even if you're just thinking from a financial point of view, you still have to give due deliberation to this step. A good time to start is, well, now. So July, to the months of July and August. If you haven't started yet, it's not an issue. I remember I didn't start before August. And but just make sure that this is a very dynamic process. It will take you 1 month. You won't wake up one day and just pick out 10 universities and apply there. So make sure that you give this process enough time, and this is the first thing that you need to do when deciding that you want to go for a master's. Okay, so the next step is taking all the required exams. I'm sure since you're attending this webinar, you might know about the GRE, the GMAT, TOEFL, IELTS, and all of these exams. If you're applying for a PhD, you may even need to give a GRE subject test. So this is also an important step. And exam देने से पहले you have to prepare for the exam, you have to book the exam, you have to find a date which suits you, in which there's no prior commitments आस पास ये सब देख के you have to choose a date. And you have to give at least 2 exams. Almost every person gives 2 exams, so you have to do all of that. And another reason why this is important is because you have already shortlisted your universities. All right. When you give the GRE or when you give the TOEFL, you have the option of sending your scores immediately after you've given the exams. Okay. So once you've given your GRE, a section will pop up at the center. तुम उसके बाहर भी नहीं जा सकते, and you have to immediately send your score to 4 colleges. So before giving these tests, you need to have at least 4 places where you know you will apply to. Okay, so that is why shortlisting universities has been put first, even before taking the TOEFL, GRE, IELTS, or any of these exams. Moving on, we now move on to the backbone of your entire application, which is your statement of purpose or your diversity statement or personal statement or research statement. There is a lot of different essays that universities ask for. One university asked me for 3 different essays, and all of them were very overlapping, and I had to write them, right? So drafting these is the most important part of the application process. Even a very good SOP and a very average profile, average grades can get you in, but great grades, great profile, and an average SOP will not get you in, to at least to the best places, right? So the best time to start working on your SOP would be August, the beginning of August. And your first draft does not have to be perfect. You'll keep reiterating it, maybe 10 times, 15 times, maybe just 5 times. Get it reviewed by seniors. वो कभी free नहीं होंगे. They'll give you a time after 2 weeks. So keeping all of that in mind, start early. That's the best way to go about it. And don't be afraid to change your SOP during these months. And I'm sure you'll be editing it even till the night before you submit your essay. So keep that in mind. Then the next step would be September onwards, start asking for transcripts and LORs. You'll have to go to the academic window, apply for your transcripts. One college even asked me to get a department class rank certificate. Some might ask you for a particular semester in which you, मतलब बहुत सारे different documents होते हैं, हर यूनिवर्सिटी को अलग document चाहिए होता है. और कहीं कहीं पे you even need to do GPA conversions. Like हमारी GPA on a scale of 10 है, they need it on a scale of 4 or 5 or 8. So you have to get all of those documents. A good time to start this is September, because documents are obviously completely dependent on another person. If there is a mess up, you won't be able to correct it, right? And you can't expect someone else to prioritize your applications as much as you do. So start this in September, like at max. And also LORs are letter of recommendations, which basically your professors or supervisors will write for you. And September is a good time to tell them that you would be requiring their help in writing an LOR or with uploading LORs, or even like if you have certain scholarship deadlines, then maybe for that. So make sure that you keep your professors in loop, so that they know कि एक महीने बाद ये बच्चा मेरे से आके LOR मांगेगा तो मैं free हूँ. अगर वो free नहीं होंगे, they'll tell you first hand. So then you can approach another professor or go to another supervisor, right? So give yourself that margin. Don't do things at the end moment. It will stress you out a lot and it will not be worth it. Other than that, filling out your application. Application में सिर्फ diversity statement, statement of purpose, scores, ये सब नहीं होता है. I remember Stanford in particular. I'm sure Nimisha can also vouch for this. We had to answer at least 5 or 6 completely different questions, जिसको लिखने में मुझे तो SOP से भी ज़्यादा time लग गया था, and I did not know that because I thought application में सिर्फ documents upload करने हैं. ऐसा नहीं होता है. Applications are very lengthy. So start filling out your applications way before the actual deadline. So October or even November would be a good place to just make an account on that application and देखो कि कुछ files जो mentioned नहीं है. Just go through it once. It's not a very long or arduous process, and it's a great way to acquaint yourself with this with the whole system of the university and how it works. So end May, December is the time when you finalize everything and you submit your application. So why we've suggested December is that DTU में in particular तभी break होता है. So you have around 15, 20, 25 days of doing nothing. It's too short a time to do an internship, And this is the time when you, even for colleges which have a January or February deadline, make sure you've submitted your application by December, at least most of it. Also, so that some colleges require that application abhi submit karo, only then professors can upload their LORs. So make sure you give them enough time. Of course, it's also important. For example, the date for something is 1st of December. Make sure you submit it 2 days before, so that maybe तुम्हारा नेट क्रैश हो गया, किसी की ट्रांसक्रिप्ट एक्सेप्ट नहीं हुई, अपने आप को वो मार्जिन दो. थिंग एंड मोमेंट पे स्पेशली हम लोगों को बहुत आदत होती है, यू नो, डूइंग थिंग्स एग्जैक्टली एट द लास्ट मिनट. हमने ये पीपीटी भी आज सुबह एडिट की है. That is just proof that all of us are like this. But try to, you know, push yourself. Ki, you give yourself at least 2 days before the deadline, so that you are safe and you don't miss out on a college because of these technical glitches. Because I don't think there's anything else that you will regret more. Yeah, Nimisha. Okay. So, universities shortlisting is what I'll be talking about next. Uh, According to me, this was a very key part of my application, because I only applied to universities where I thought I would get in. Okay, you might have heard about these things of ambitious schools, reach schools, and safe schools. I personally do not believe that that is a good way to approach this. A lot of people do, but I personally don't vouch for that. I would say apply to universities where you feel like working. Don't care अगर वो बहुत high ranked है, या फिर वहाँ पे, you know, you feel like this doesn't have a great reputation. Don't think about these things. Apply to universities जहाँ पे professors ऐसा काम कर रहे हैं जो तुम करना चाहते हो. Of course, other things also matter. You would not want to go to, you know, uh, a place where do we, whatever personal reasons are fine, but make sure that the places you're applying to, you're not doing it just because of prestige. You're applying to universities because you want to work there. Okay, yeah, if there's a professor there who interests you, that will really help you cut down on from your 20-30 options that you start with. So an ideal number of universities to apply to would be 7 to 11. Any lesser than 7 universities can be a risk. You might not get in anywhere. And any more than 11, according to me, is a waste of your time, resources, as well as money. Because as I mentioned, 10,000 तक भी जाता है. That is actually the average value. 10K jana for, you know, just applying to universities is a very big amount, at least to me, and I'm sure it is to some of you as well. So अगर तुम 11 यूनिवर्सिटी में अप्लाई कर रहे हो, chances are कहीं ना कहीं हो ही जाएगा. Don't worry. And if you've done it smartly, you might even get in everywhere. So one of the tips that I would have is to create an Excel sheet for every university that you have considered applying to. एक एक्सेल शीट बनाओ स्टार्टिंग से ही. उसमें जितनी भी तुम्हें यूनिवर्सिटीज, पहले तुम रैंकिंग से शॉर्टलिस्ट कर रहे हो, एलुमनाई से कर रहे हो, किसी से भी कर रहे हो, note all of it down. Then, you know, color grade it. For example, there are 3 places that I definitely have to apply to. Okay, your absolute dream programs that you think you will have to get into. Okay, या फिर जो तुम्हें बहुत मन है. Then options that you're confused about, rank them according to that, and divide them into different columns. The you know, what, if you have any alumni there from DTU or otherwise, talk to them, see what the professors are researching, and you can look at what employment opportunities are there from that college. Maybe you want to go to a very interdisciplinary environment कि मुझे you know, civil पढ़नी है but मुझे focus थोड़ा policy पे चाहिए, या फिर मुझे civil पढ़नी है मुझे computer science based चाहिए, तो या फिर मुझे combination of both degrees चाहिए. So list all of that down. Look into if it's a thesis option or a non-thesis option. List all of it down so that you know you can refer to an actual place जहाँ से तुम choose कर सकते हो. Okay, so be smart about that. Another thing is to connect with alumni of that particular program to gain insights. Okay, for example, I think Toronto had a number of different programs. There was one on civil engineering, one on environmental science, one on sustainability management. All three of these programs had overlapping faculty, but the subjects and the things that were taught were very different. So you can talk to seniors from each program, find out wo kya kar rahe hai and what aligns with what you want to do. Another thing is that rankings matter, and for judging these rankings only go by very reliable lists that everyone refers to. The two that I would recommend are QS World Rankings and US News. Both of these are super reliable. Maybe outside the US you might have other lists that may be more uh, reliable, but I personally do not know of any, so I'm not recommending them. Also check out scholarships and fellowships at each university. Maybe कोई एक यूनिवर्सिटी है जो तुम्हें बहुत फैंसी नहीं लग रही है, but तुम्हें लग रहा है कि if I get a scholarship here, it's like some programs are completely funded. So if you get a scholarship there, you might want to go, right? For example, CMU gives out scholarships to a lot of people. You might want to apply to that. Okay. So some places have fully funded programs as well. So like my program at British Columbia, that was completely funded. They were paying for rent, housing, flights, everything. So there are such things which might incite you towards the university, and that's completely okay. Look at the financial state of the situation as well, and only then choose. All right. uh, let's move on. Nimsha, next slide. Okay, so three questions that I think everyone should ask themselves while shortlisting universities. जो तुमने rough list बनाई है उससे, which countries should you apply to? Look into immigration laws of that country. क्या तुम वहाँ रहना चाहते हो या सिर्फ मास्टर्स करना चाहते हो या PhD करना चाहते हो? Quality of education, ROI, career prospects after your particular degree, okay, and the quality of life in that country. So also like language, like maybe some people want to go to Europe, but they have slight inclination to not learn French or not learn German, and those are completely normal reasons to not want to attend universities. Don't shy away from removing something just because you think कि ये तो मैंने अपने लिस्ट से यूनिवर्सिटीज हटाई है क्योंकि वो जगह बहुत ठंडी थी and I don't like the cold. So I was like, okay, in this place there's a lot of snow, I cannot study there, and I removed it. So don't think of these reasons as fickle. These are completely normal reasons, and you can shortlist universities on the basis of these as well. Another thing to check is what current faculty members are working on. Current being a very important word because इन्हीं के साथ तुम्हें research करनी होगी. Maybe 4 साल पहले there's a faculty member here who did a lot of great work on computer science and infrastructure, but अब वो retire हो गया, तो अब वो research area नहीं है. तुम उसके you can't apply thinking of कि I'll get to do this. You won't get to do this. You will only get to do what current faculty members are doing. So even if it's a very prestigious college, then like I did not apply to certain colleges because I did not find faculty doing things that I wanted to do. Okay, you don't have to go according to anyone else. If you feel like अब मुझे इसी सेक्टर में काम करना है, तो उसी सेक्टर में अप्लाई करो. So for me, an ideal research interest of your faculty advisor is something you have previously worked on, so that उनके पास जब तुम्हारी application जाएगी, they have some proof कि okay इस बच्चे ने इस area में काम किया हुआ है. For example, forest fires. If you've already worked on that, plus what you wish to work on. अगर ये दोनों ही तुम्हें किसी प्रोफेसर में मिल जाता है, तो I would say आंख बंद करके apply कर दो. You will get it. Okay, you will get it. If you have both of these somewhere, apply karo. No matter if it's Harvard or if it's some state university, you will get it if you have both of these things. The next thing is, how are current students of this university doing? Are they working at places you want to work? Are they pursuing research that you want to explore? Are they getting their MS converted to a PhD if that is your longer goal? Okay, so answer all these questions, and based on this select places you want to go to. Talk to as many people as you can. हर यूनिवर्सिटी के alumni से बात करो, and only then find out कि तुम्हें कहाँ जाना है. And if you do all of these steps, I'm sure you'll have between 7 to 11 universities, if not lesser. throughout this entire process. Nimisha, next slide. Yeah, I think Nimisha will take over now.
Yeah. So we didn't really plan this. Anushka has spoken at length. um, Well, so now right away we'll move on to your English proficiency tests. After you've shortlisted your universities, you have a fair idea of what examinations you want to give. Like, does the university accept TOEFL scores or IELTS scores? Do you need to give the GRE, etc., etc.? So mostly universities will accept the TOEFL, IELTS, even maybe the Duolingo test, or even maybe a course which is set by the university itself. Anushka and I appeared for the TOEFL IBT, and Ariba applied for the IELTS academic. So I will be talking about the TOEFL, and then Ariba will speak about the IELTS. All right. You shortlisted your universities. You know you've decided that you want to give the TOEFL. So very quickly you can scan this slide, and it will test you on four sections, four aspects of actually any language: reading, listening, writing, and speaking, each of 30 marks. The exam duration is roughly 3 hours. It depends on you how long you take to, give your answers and revise them, etc. And there will be a 10-minute break between the first two sections, which is reading and listening, in which you can use the loo, drink water, etc., etc. But you can't really go out of the examination center. Its validity is 2 years, so you can give the examination, get your score in about like 7 to 10 days, and see if you want to appear again or not. Mostly you will not, but yeah, that's the score. So like if you want to, keep your scores, work for a year, and then apply next year, that can be done with the same score. The target score, most universities will ask for a 100 to 110 on 120. Some may even ask for a 90 plus. And very rarely will a professor especially mention, like if you want to work in their lab, that they need a 110 plus. Or maybe they'll mention that, you need to get a higher score in, say, writing, right? You need to get 25 plus in writing. So like there might be some specifications on section wise scores, but that is very easily obtainable on the university lab professors website, so the department website, right? It is easily attainable. Like you just like I say, ideal preparation time is about 2 weeks, the average preparation time. And if you have a good command over the language, if you're able to understand tiny grammatical errors, and you're able to express yourself in rich vocabulary, then it's not that difficult. But then again, if 100 does a job, you don't need to really stretch yourself and work over here as much. Then preparation material, again, very easily available online. ETS itself has some mock tests. You can also buy tests if you need. Then there are some sites like Noteful and Test Glider. What worked for me was the Test Glider tests, practice tests, and the YouTube videos I watched on other people's experiences, and some tips that they were kind enough to share on their channel, right? Um, they will give you fixed prompts and all. I'll talk about that in the next slide. Yeah, also, on this slide, I mentioned towards the end that GRE prep helps. So if you're prepping for GRE alongside, it will also require you to analyze texts and work with vocabulary. So that automatically helps you with your TOEFL, though not like directly. But again, you're getting acquainted with the language, so it helps.
Nimsha just would like to pitch in here. So I gave both the GRE and the TOEFL, and मेरा एक का speaking prompt और एक का writing prompt same था. So that was like I didn't have to even think, and I ended up getting a great score on the GRE written because मेरे दिमाग में already सारे points थे TOEFL speaking से. So even if you're giving both exams, they overlap a lot. So try to give them. It's not like ऐसा मत दो कि TOEFL 4 महीने पहले दे रहे हो, GRE 4 महीने बाद दे रहे हो, एक साथ दो. That is better for you because the testing body is the same, right? ETS takes both these exams, so keep that in mind. Please continue.
So there you go, Exhibit A of how the prep overlaps and can help you in the exams, right? So these are some tips for the exam day. um, you will be provided with some rough sheets, right? You can make short notes, especially it is recommended actually during the listening section, because you will only hear the audio once. So, and you will need to refer your notes to answer correctly. So make short notes. For the writing and speaking exercises, they expect certain information in a certain format. So that is very easily available, and you can just look them up online or with your practice material, and just scribble them on the rough sheets so that you're not under the stress to revise them or recall them when you actually come to the writing and speaking sections. So once it's there, you can just like focus on your reading exercise, your listening exercise, and then you can maybe you can use your 10 minutes, right, the break, to write those formats, and then you can just use them, which you should, because there is some weightage given to that format in the ETS TOEFL. Then I recommend wearing your headphones even before you need them, because some people might actually start their speaking exercise before you, or there might be invigilator noises, right? Somebody might be asking for help with their keyboard or with their, I don't know, rough sheets, etc. So you don't want to get distracted. Then again, for the speaking section, it is imperative to, to kind of concentrate and just ignore whatever's going on in the background. Be prepared for external noises. And especially like during COVID, there were like additional health precautions imposed. We had to have our mask on. I was not aware of this, and it is really an, I mean, extraordinary challenge to speak through it, to speak through your mask. So you anyway had to be loud and clear. But as Anushka experienced, you might have to even shout to, like, to for the computer to register whatever you're saying.
Yeah, so I think there are four speaking questions, and I almost missed out on my first one because of the mask, and I was trying to be very considerate कि मेरे साइड वाले को दिक्कत होगी, उसके चक्कर में मेरा पूरा आंसर mess up हो गया. So don't do that. Don't be compassionate. Just be a very bad person who's shouting at the top of their voice and getting your point across. तुम बहुत ज्यादा करोगे तो तुम्हारे पास अपने आप इन्विजिलेटर आके तुम्हें बोल देगा चुप होने के लिए. Don't worry about that. But just don't be afraid of talking at a way louder voice than you do normally, because everyone else is shouting एक साथ और सबका speaking almost एक साथ आता है, and it's total chaos inside. So don't be worried about someone else at that moment.
Injecting morality
Yeah.
into the test. So yeah, so like,
Immorality rather.
yeah, so
But
like that's exactly what will happen, right? Because I mean, what margin do you expect? 2 minutes before or after? So that's exactly what happens. You just finished your 10-minute break, and then you directly go into that exercise, and then suddenly you see that the next person has started talking.
yeah.
So it might unnerve you also to be like, oh, okay, I have to do something like this, and I have to start speaking. So there's that. But yeah, sometimes I don't know. So one YouTube tip was I that you can overhear what the question prompt is and then see and then already make up your mind that you have to talk about something like that. But yeah, like, I mean, I think that is for people who are really very confident because for me to be focusing on other people's tests while you're in the middle of your own, it's a little, yeah, well, overwhelming. But yeah, that's definitely there. So yeah, listen to people and their experiences. Well, okay, over to you, Ariba, for the IELTS. Before that, sorry, Ariba. I really want to impress upon this importance of the examination. You might think that it's just another obstacle or another formality that you have to, go through. But you have to understand that even while, say, like you all have been sitting in classrooms, right? At least one class you must have attended in DTU. So you must have experienced teachers slipping into Hindi, or maybe using slang, or maybe when you asked the question they were not able to explain it to you in English completely, so they slipped into Hindi, or maybe you were not able to express yourself as clearly, so you asked the question in Hindi. What I'm trying to get at is that abroad this will not happen. You will not have that space to slip into Hindi. Even when you're groveling for extra marks, when you're maybe telling tales about how you skipped on an assignment or whatever, you will not be able to talk to them in Hindi. You will not have that ground of familiarity or anything at all. So them, the college, and even you need to know where you stand with the language, how well you can express yourself, how clearly you can state your intentions and get done what is required. So I would say that giving the test is one thing, but for you to also improve on your English is very important. So please give these tests very seriously and actually work on your language. Over to you, Ariba.
All right, so yeah. So I took the IELTS exam, and IELTS stands for International English Language System. So basically, IELTS is more popular if you are going to like Europe or Canada and these kind of countries. But and TOEFL is more popular when you're going to US. But both test scores are accepted to majorly all the universities. There are certain universities which are an exception. that do not consider your IELTS score. Like Stanford does not consider your IELTS score as a test for English proficiency. So do check with the university that you're applying to, that whether you should take the test or not. So basically, there are four sections in this test. There is the listening, academic reading, academic writing, and speaking section. Now, you need to be very clear that you're actually choosing the right exam, because there are two types of IELTS exams. There is one academic test and a general training test. So choose if you want to go for a master's in abroad. So you should take the academic IELTS exam and not the general training. Your band score should be around 7 or above for you to get into a good universities. Many universities accept students with a band score of 6.5 as well, but being at the safer side, go for 7 or above. Now you need to get an individual band score of 7 in each of the sections, as well as an overall band score of 7. So don't mess up with any of the sections. You need to be scoring a good score in each of the sections. The exam duration is around 2 hours 30 minutes, and the test will actually take place on two separate days. So you will be appearing for the listening, reading, and writing section on one day, and then again for the speaking section on an entirely different day. And the dates for the speaking section will be revealed, just like 1 week before the exam has been scheduled. So you will know the test date for listening, reading, and writing section, but the speaking section, they will reach out to you and tell you about the date, just 5 days before the exam. All right. So the ideal preparation time, I think so. Like it totally depends on the person itself. So there's only a certain extent to which you can, improve your English at this in the time of 2 months or a week. So it really depends on where you stand, and I think so. These 2 months, the time saying as the ideal preparation time is basically for you to sharpen your skills. So, focus on your weak points. So, generally, people lose bands in the writing section. So I think so 2 months is an ideal time to sharpening your writing skills, understanding the format of the exam, uh, what kind of answers do they expect from you. Also in the writing section, there is a very strict word limit. So if you write, less than 250 words, I think so that's the limit here. So if you write, anything less than that, you will be losing bands. So being on the safer side, you should always exceed like 30 to 40 words, uh, uh, what the word limit is actually. So keep that in mind. As for the speaking section, unlike the TOEFL exam, it's not, computer based. So you're not speaking into through a microphone. You're actually, there is an in-person interview. So there will be a person to whom you will be speaking with, and they will be assessing your skills. It will be a recorded session, and it will be taking place in a separate room. So you won't get disturbed from other people. So I think so that's very convenient. Preparation material, yes. So when you book the IELTS exam, they will provide you with an exam preparation booklet that will come to your home once you've booked for the test. Then also they will also give you access to some of their online material, which is also very helpful. So just stick to the book and maybe the online material to help you with your vocabulary. I think so what worked out for me was using vocabulary flashcards. And you can use any application for building up your vocabulary. So I used the GRE vocabulary guide, and it was very helpful. So as Nimisha was saying that GRE preparation can help you with your English proficiency test. So it actually does. I was using the GRE vocabulary application, and that really helps me with the building up that vocabulary for even the IELTS exam. Then I would also suggest you to watch academic English help with YouTube videos, because they really help you with the speaking part. You become more familiar with the kind of question that you will encounter during the exam, what will be the flow, um, how long will it be. It is basically an extempore. You will be given a topic and you'll have to speak on it for a while. So it just prepares you way ahead than like what you will actually encounter in the exam. So it's really helpful. Um, okay, Nimisha, next slide. Okay, so I think so. Anushka will take over now.
Yeah, but before that, I would just like to say that it is a very good idea to give a mock before, appearing for these exams.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So then
Yes.
you will know exactly where you stand and what all areas you need to work on, and you can actually plan out accordingly.
Yeah, also how long you need to work on. Like if you're already getting a great score, you might not have to put in 2 months of prep, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it actually
First,
depends where you stand at the moment.
yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Over to you, Anushka.
that's a good way to start the GRE as well. My first tip to start GRE prep is to give a mock. और mock में क्या होता है कि I'll first of all explain the GRE is a live examination. Okay, अगर तुम फर्स्ट सेक्शन में अच्छा करोगे तुम्हारा सेक्शन नेक्स्ट वाला टफ आएगा, अच्छा नहीं करोगे तो तुम्हारा सेक्शन बुरा आएगा. That is how it goes. It's a very very dynamic exam which keeps changing depending on how you do. You get extra marks if you get the harder section, you get lesser marks even if you get an all correct on the easier section. Before giving the GRE, the most important thing is that आजकल GRE most colleges either don't require or don't accept. So there are both colleges. कुछ colleges मानते ही नहीं है, तुम GRE score भेजोगे वो देखेंगे ही नहीं, they will not take it. Okay, and other than that, GRE in general is a very biased exam. It's supposed there's a lot of research on this. It's not something which is needed for excellence in academia in general. You just because you do not do great on the GRE does not mean that you're a failure, because I have seen this a lot. I have a friend जिसकी DTU में 10 GPA आती थी and she did not do well on the GRE. And so it's not a sign of intelligence at all in any way. Uh, Other than that, so keep that in mind while you're giving the GRE. It's just an exam, it's not a decision, because India mein we are very uh, we always think that किसी एक पर्टिकुलर कम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम को देके वी नो वेदर और नॉट विल गेट इट, बिकॉज दैट्स हाउ वी हैव इट हियर, right? Like for example, there's the cat. If you do well, then you might get in, and if you don't do well, you might not get in. That is how Indians think in general, but that's not how it is with the GRE. You don't have to get a great score to get in. However, all of that being said and done, it's always good to have a great score. If you have a good score, only then send it to universities, and in that case it can be a huge added bonus to your profile. So I'll be explaining it in depth today. The GRE has three sections: quantitative, verbal, and analytical writing assessment. Both quant and verbal are of 170 marks each, and the AWA is rated out of 6 marks. A lot of people ignore AWA thinking that writing koi nahi dekhega. If you have a score of lesser than 4, no university would admit you. ओके, बिकॉज अगर तुम्हें राइटिंग स्किल नहीं आती और तुम एक रिसर्च बेस्ड प्रोग्राम में अप्लाई कर रहे हो, इवन इफ यू आर डूइंग अ मैथ, साइंस, कंप्यूटर साइंस, व्हाटएवर रिसर्च, इफ यू डू नॉट नो हाउ टू राइट योर रिसर्च, you don't know how to write a research paper, then you probably are not in a great place to attend a research based program. So that is how universities think. You might not have just performed well, but keeping all of that aside, so AW is not creative writing, it's analytical writing. You'll be given situations, you'll have to find reasons, and इसके ऊपर बहुत सारी videos हैं on YouTube. You just have to go and search and you'll find. Make sure you actually practice writing essays, because people have had to give the GRE another time even when they scored great, because they did not get a good AWA score. Now proceeding to the two important sections, quant and verbal. Their score, the entire score is lowest score that you can get is 130. So a lot of people give mocks and they think कि 320 अच्छा स्कोर होता है, हमारे 300 तो आ ही गए, तो हमें उतना पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. Please remember that it's not rated from a scale of 0 to 360, it's rated from 260 to 340. So even if you leave the paper blank, कुछ भी ना करके आओ तो भी तुम्हारे 260 आएंगे. It's impossible to get a lower score than that. Anyway, so when you give mocks, remember that if you're scoring above 320, maybe you need slightly lesser prep. But nevertheless, GRE depends a lot on your frame of mind that day. The exam duration is 4 hours, which is a lot of time. A little less than 4 hours, but 10 minute ka break bhi hota hai. Incorporating that, it becomes 3 hours 55 minutes. हर क्वांट सेक्शन 35 मिनट्स लंबा होता है. वर्बल सेक्शन इज 30 मिनट्स. उनके बीच बीच में स्क्रीन आती है, उसमें भी 2 3 4 5 मिनट और 30 मिनट्स मिलते हैं फॉर 2 राइटिंग सेक्शंस. The validity of the GRE exam is longer than TOEFL. It's 5 years. So if you want to go for a PhD immediately after your you know mm, masters, then you won't have to write the GRE again. However, you would have to write the TOEFL or IELTS again. Plus GRE is a lot more costlier also, so you a lot of people give this exam 2 times. So it's better that 2 mahine prepare karo sab kuch chhod ke and give it your best, and a good score is very attainable. Your target score should be 320 plus. I know a lot of different people have different target scores for quant and verbal, but aajkal universities look at a very holistic profile. If you have a score of above 320, I do not think they would care बहुत ज़्यादा, and it's definitely not worth rupees 30-35,000 की फिर से जाके एग्जाम लिखो. Preparation material very important. Do not refer to any outside books. Kaplan and all of this, absolutely unnecessary money making schemes. Do not go towards them. Use the ETS official guide, the ETS official quant reasoning guide, the ETS official verbal reasoning guide, and ETS had an old big book, kafi, I mean, as the name suggests, it was a big book full of problems, absolutely great for verbal. And the only outside resource that you should be using is the Manhattan 5LB for quant. It has a lot of maths questions. If you do all of it, I did not do all of it, but if you do all of it, I'm sure you'll get like a very good quant score. So that's about it. I would again recommend, do not take any official any unofficial mocks. GRE के mocks की thinking बहुत अलग होती है, और प्रिंसटन एंड मैनहट्टन इनके मॉक्स लेने से तुम्हें नहीं मिलेगा गुड असेसमेंट ऑफ योर स्कोर. It's better to give, I think GRE has two free mocks and 3 additional mocks. They're called PPP1, PPP2, and PPP3. It's better to shell out $40 and give that test rather than go to Manhattan or Kaplan or any of these companies, because the way ETS thinks and the way its options are, your verbal section in the exam will be very different from whatever other companies are offering. At least the foreign test prep companies. I do not know about Indian test prep companies. Moving on, Nimisha, next slide. Okay, so some tips about giving the GRE. Also, if you guys want to go for an MBA, I think someone's asked this in the chat. MBA programs also accept the GRE now. Pehle they used to only accept the GMAT exam, but now more and more MBA universities also accept the GRE. So before committing to the test, make sure that the programs you're applying to actually accept it. ठीक है, तुम्हारे पास 4 यूनिवर्सिटीज होनी चाहिए जिनको तुम GRE स्कोर भेजोगे, अदरवाइज इट्स यूजलेस. No test preparation starts unless you have booked the test. जब तक you don't have this deadline looming over your head कि okay मेरा 5 सितंबर को एग्जाम है, जब तक ये नहीं होगा तुम नहीं पढ़ोगे. That is how most people are. If you are an exceptional person, then you've probably already given the GRE. But if you haven't, and if you're like normal people like we are, then you should book the test first and then start preparing for it. In case of difficult circumstances, you are allowed to change the date of your prep. You have to pay a nominal amount. Nominal for ETS is like $5,000, but yeah, so you have to pay some amount of money and then you can get your date changed as well. So don't worry about that. Before you start your prep, book the test date. Okay, only stick to the official ETS mock tests as I mentioned. Okay, Another thing that I did and what worked for me was that note the kind of questions that you get wrong frequently. Do this through mocks, do this through test sets, whatever. If you have, तुम्हें पता है कि मुझसे probability का question हमेशा गलत ही होता है, कोई फायदा नहीं है इसको करने का, skip it. On the exam day skip that question, क्योंकि odds are कि मुझे पता है कि मेरा 5% चांस है मेरा ये क्वेश्चन सही होगा और मैं इस पे 1 घंटा लगाऊंगी, कोई फायदा नहीं है. Just skip questions. Even if you get for a 170, you still have a margin of getting 2 questions wrong. ठीक है, तुमने अगर सारा सही किया है तो भी 170 आएंगे, 2 गलत किए तो भी 170 आएंगे, कभी कभी 3 गलत किए तो भी 170 आएंगे. Or it's very dynamic. As I said, it's a live test. Okay, so note down questions that you always get wrong and don't be afraid of skipping them during the actual exam. Practice writing essays under timed conditions. 30 minutes is not a lot of time, especially because you have to think of arguments, you have to write them down, you have to create a flow. और इसमें कोई वर्ड लिमिट नहीं होता, जितना ज्यादा लिखोगे उतने मार्क्स मिलेंगे, लिटरली ऐसे होता है. As for vocab list, so GRE vocabulary is extremely extensive. You will have to learn a minimum of 1000 words and very very fancy big words, okay, that no one will use in general conversation. So stick to one list because there are 3000 word lists, 2000 word lists, बहुत सारी होती है. कोई एक list उठाओ. For example, there's Barron's 800, then there's another some GMAT prep guides, बहुत सारी lists है internet पे. Pick out one list and stick to that, because 200 list के हर list से 100 word करना is not the answer. एक लिस्ट उठाओ, ट्रस्ट योर सेल्फ कि जो आएगा इसमें से आएगा. ऑन द एग्जाम डे देयर विल बी वर्ड्स दैट यू डोंट नो एंड दैट्स ओके. It's fine. You will not know words. Okay, it's fine to not know words on the day of the verbal. You don't have to get a 340. No one gets a 340 and no one needs to get a 340. Keep that in mind and don't be afraid of skipping questions. So there's a 10-minute break. Make sure you carry a light snack with you at that time because first or second gap, the second section that you'll get will be much harder compared to the first one. Okay, so make sure that before that you use that 10-minute break to calm down and tell yourself कि पहले 2 sections अच्छे गए हो बुरे गए हो, next वाले will make or break your exam. The first sections are not that important, the second ones are. And AW is at the start of the exam as well. So yeah, that's about it from my side for the GRE. Okay, so now I think Nimisha will be explaining the SOP.
Yes, thank you, Anushka.
Okay.
All right. So, coming to the statement of purpose, it is also known as statement of intent, personal statement, research statement. Once you log into your application portal on the universities, you will see whatever they call it, right? Also, guys, I'm a little under the weather, so like if I start sneezing in between, please excuse me and bless me if you want to. But well, moving on, what is an SOP? Let's just answer that basic question. So it, some people might call it the single most crucial component of your application. Since you don't have any interviews as such, this is one piece where, it's like a letter to the admissions committee where you say that I want to do masters here because of so and so, and this and that. So the thing is that this is an opportunity where you can actually tell why you want to do this, why you want to spend a lot of money to get an education abroad, and what you want to achieve, what you have done so far, and how being at that university, spending 1 year or 2 years there will help you advance in your life trajectory, right? So you have to place yourself uniquely and tell an honest story. It has to be yours. It is very personal. It cannot be somebody else's. It cannot be an idealized life journey. It has to be yours, your aspirations, your challenges, how you overcame them, and only that will sell yourself to the admissions committee, who will then make a decision. What is an SOP not, right? It is not an extended version of your CV. When you start drafting, you might be tempted to just be like, okay, I started working on this research paper, so I will just say that it is under review, or got accepted here and here. That does not work. You have to Rujrani, please wait for the end of the session. Thank you.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Right. So you don't just have to merely extend and elaborate on those pointers. You have to tell your personal uh, drive and motives to actually pursue a master's. I'll just move on to the next slide. Right. So the contents can be your journey, which is mostly academic, partly personal, because then again, you will have personal motivations to pursue a specific course. And like Anushka said in the very beginning, that if you choose to do a master's, it is a different amount of commitment. So again, that can be that might be personal, right? Then your course of choices, me wanting to do something in water can be very different from why Anushka wants to do something in water. Then your drive to pursue masters, your current research interests, to what internship opportunities you've been exposed to, or what research papers you have read, or what problems catch your eye, or what kind of creative solutions you have in your mind, those things, and how you plan to act on them. So more often than not, we will be interested in something, and then we will google it up, right? That we want to know, oh, okay, crypto, it's caught your eye, and then you want to be like, okay, what's the big deal about it? Then you'll read up. So that's exactly what you do over here as well. Or you might have done already for something, like for whatever core you want to do your masters in, right? So you mentioned that. And your short term and long term goals, again, I like to really stress upon this point, that a master's cannot be the end goal. It is a stepping stone in the journey of your life, right? You want to do something ahead. So you have to you have to really give it that, I don't know, that outlook only. It cannot be like your dream has to go to MIT. It might be there, right? But then again, there must be something that MIT will give you, which you want to do onwards, right? So that, and then again, by this particular university, your SOP is customized and tailored to fit each university. And yeah, you need to be sure of the page limits and word limits. I'll come to that. One thing you really need to know is that it more than just writing an essay, it is more like storytelling. So it really needs to have a good flow, and it should be enjoyable to read. Because I mean, think about it, these universities, these admission committees, they get thousands of letters, they get thousands of applications. So why will they read yours, right? Why will they even give 2 minutes of their precious time to read your letter? So you need to really make it entertaining and engaging for them to read. Now, I'm not saying that you insert a couple of jokes, right? It's not that, but it is that it cannot be what I'm trying to say is that you cannot read a couple of drafts online and then just write whatever you think makes the most sense to you. They read it. They've read thousands of letters before you. They will read thousands of letters like after you. They're masters of their trade, which is why they're actually on the admissions committee, right? So you have to be really unique and honest while you tell your own story. And lastly, make sure you get 2 or 3 people, friends, seniors, to read your drafts. You don't get these people to write your SOP for you. You have to write your SOP yourself. That is highly recommended. But make sure that you get 2 or 3 people, close to you to read your drafts, because you might have skipped out on something, and they think that you will, like, I maybe skipped out on something. I dance, so maybe I skipped out on something which was dance related and would have been nice to put in my SOP. And my mom read it and she was like, hey, you can mention that, and I did. Or your friends might tell you that you're really underestimating yourself over here and you're being too modest. So why don't you elaborate more on this part of your challenge or your work project or whatnot? And you can work on that. You can change verbs. Somebody might say that, you hope, you might have written like, I hope to do this, but then you can change it to, I will do this. So just changing that verb in your letter can have a different impact and a more desirable impact. So you need to take getting advice from a lot of people helps. But again, like, you don't have to necessarily take everything. You again just do whatever feels right to you, because it's a very personal experience. um, then some tips is that, be you, don't try to be someone else, or even an inflated sense of yourself, right? You might think that this is the morally correct thing to do, or this is the ethically correct thing to do, or I don't know. Just be careful of that, and also don't try to when you have a when you idolize somebody, you might just want to walk into their footsteps and just kind of write like them. So don't do that either. Just be you. I'm sure you're good enough, right? then take your time. You might have to work on multiple drafts, and if you're getting feedback, that will also require extra time. So I think in the initial timeline we gave you roughly like 2 months, and obviously you're doing a lot of things simultaneously. There would also be college, there would also be societies you're a part of, and some of you might be, well, on the edge. You might be looking at non-tech stuff, you might be looking at coding, you might be looking at core. So you're kind of juggling all of this, right? So give yourself enough time to work on your drafts, and so like start drafting as soon as possible, so that even like for me also, if I knew like there was a particular incident I wanted to quote in my SOP, I had three or four I had written it 3 or 4 times, and then I saw and selected the one which fit best, right? What I'm trying to say is that there is one incident can be reported in many ways, and you want to stick to the word limit, you want to stick to the tone of the SOP, so you will need that time. Be organized. You should realize that every sentence, every word you write is directed at getting a seat at that university. So do not be redundant, do not be wasteful, do not go into spirals, right? Don't derail. You need to be very focused while you're writing your SOP, very to the point, very crisp. Everything should lead to something. Then word and page limits. Another reason why your university SOPs will be unique to that university. One SOP does not fit all, so be very careful of that. Then do your research. Since you're customizing your SOP, what labs, which professors, what courses, you need to tell them that why you're excited or willing to be a part of Columbia or Berkeley or Stanford. You need to tell them that I will enroll in these courses, I will be a part of these societies, and I want to work under this professor, and I want to get in touch with these people, something like that. You need to tell them that okay, I know more than just the university name and the department's name, and I actually want to be a part of this community, right? Then futures. Again, you need to convince them that doing a master's at their university is something which is very important to you, because it will give you the fruit or give you the result of something else that you want to do in life. I want to become a scientist, and I want to pursue top quality research. So if I do not have a master's, I have, how else will I maybe go on to get a PhD and then do or get or grow connections so that I can work in labs. So that is something you need to take care of and mention in your SOP. You want to go into academics, or you want to open a startup, or you want to get into the R&D culture. So stuff like that. Then the journey. More often than not, people just say that, okay, I was the head of this society and I led a team of this to organize this fest, etc. So this is fine. Like this, we can get from your CV. But what we want to know is how you managed a team, or what was the valuable lesson you learned when you held a position. You must have earned some leadership skills, and what were those, and how did you actually implement those, or how will they help you in your research culture? So like I mentioned earlier, that I dance, so I know that a lot of discipline is required, a lot of practice is required, and so that kind of thing can benefit me while I'm standing in my lab trying to work on a experiment, on an experiment, and it's failing. So I will need discipline, I will need patience, and I will need to keep doing things again and again. So stuff like that, it is very interesting to read, and obviously very nice to know about a person, because that is a very unique challenge to you. And yeah, that is the thought process behind whatever you take, why you take it. It helps the admissions committee to know you a little better. Lastly, some universities will ask you additional personal history questions, or diversity, or ask for a diversity statement. This is a great opportunity to include stuff which you might not have been able to include in your SOP, and secondly, to discuss how you bring distinctness to the classroom. These are very small classrooms that we're talking about, and the professors that aim these universities, they want their spaces to be as diverse and as inclusive as possible, because they really want the best experience for their students. So they want students to learn from each other. And having said this, in masters, a lot of people come with work experience, right? A lot of you will see a lot of people from different countries. So you need to be able to bring to be able to elaborate about how you bring what you bring to the table, and how you're different from others, or what kind of a unique background have you had, which other people can also get learn from and get inspired, and overall say, propel the class to greatness, if I might add. Anushka mentioned earlier that, how Stanford made us answer questions. I thought I'll just elaborate it over here. They'll ask you questions and they will give you word limits, and that is equivalent to drafting an SOP, because you will again need to think of, they'll ask you a question like, what is the greatest challenge in your life that you overcame, and you've lived 22 years of life. And if you've lived life, then you face challenges, and you're like, okay, what is a challenge big enough for Stanford? What is a challenge that I actually feel proud of overcoming? So these are the things you will actually need to talk to your friends about, write multiple drafts, try to do as much storytelling as possible in 50 words. But also stay true to yourself. You can't be like that, I whipped them some magic and fought with monsters and stuff like that. It has to be very realistic, very human, but still it needs to show some strength of character, some growth, all of this. So I mean, you will get overwhelmed. It is very difficult to even talk about some things, right? Like these questions are very personal, and you will also need to figure out, okay, how to, I mean, again, like I had to battle some of these things when I was answering these questions, that how do I not get not too personal, stuff like that. So, and you can't lie. So yeah, I mean, you need your time while answering these questions, and but yes, again, you use them to your advantage. Anushka wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think you already mentioned it. I would say don't lie in your
Yeah.
SOP at all. Neither diversity statement में ना किसी question answer में. Trust yourself. You have had enough experiences, and you have faced challenges. You have faced all of this, and you don't have to be a very diverse person to write a diversity statement. Your research can be diverse. Your research can help. You don't have to be handicapped to help in someone. You don't have to be ostracized to help other people out of social evils, right? Don't think कि मैं एक कोडिंग करता हुआ इंसान हूँ, मैं नहीं कर सकता हूँ. You might have your research would which would help people in something totally different, a challenge that you haven't personally faced. So don't be afraid of including that. They don't just need someone who is from a very disadvantaged background. They need someone who is willing to go out of his her or their way and to do something which would in general be for the betterment of their research interests and of society at large. So don't be afraid of writing your big dreams or whatever you've had. Don't be afraid, because this is your gateway to achieving them. So let them know that you've dreamt big and that you have these goals in place. And you don't have to lie about any of these. Just be very very honest. You may have a very small, like मैंने बहुत छोटे instances भी लिखे थे in my like in some of the questions, because I did not have a big instance to write about, but just write about things which are true to you, because these people have been doing this job since like years. Okay, they can just, I think वो एक बार में recognize कर सकते हैं तुम सच बोल रहे हो या नहीं बोल रहे हो, and sometimes they fact check as well. Like I remember Texas asked for each like जिस भी सोसाइटी का तुम पार्ट हो उसको they personally contact उनके ex presidents को, and they ask कि how is this person, how well did they work in that team. So whenever you lie, there are mechanisms in place, और कोई एक भी check हो गया तो they can sue you also, just so you know. So just like, not even if you're not worried about the legal component of it, just don't lie, because it's very very visible to anyone who's gone through the process. Yeah, just that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, if it's big enough for you, it's like, and if you write about it convincingly and you're honest, it shows through. So you don't have to really worry about that aspect to the point that you're lying about it. So yeah, that covers the SOP. And LORs, Reba, over to you. Also, I think we're on a little bit of a time crunch. I think, miscalculated. So, I think, yeah, we'll start with our personal profiles by 5:25. I think, Anushka, what do you say, Ariba?
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
So I'll just wrap up very fast, very quickly about what are letter of recommendations,
Right.
just to give a very brief idea about it.
Yes.
So, letter of recommendations are basically letters written by, that other people are writing on your behalf. So, basically, again, you need to just check with the university that you're applying to whether whether you have to provide like academic recommendations or professional recommendations. So, depending on your program and depending on the university, the considerations will be different. But you'll always have to provide at least three recommendation letters. So that's common in all the applications. So basically, LOR is a very important part of your application, and it can really boost your chances of getting your admit. Since it really gives the university a window that to look into who you as a person are really so they will form an opinion of you through a different lens. So it's basically a professor, it's a supervisor under whom you worked before. So these people are vouching for your skills, these are endorsing you, they are endorsing you. So it just really helps boost your application and really further your chances of getting a good admit. So LOR is very important and it really makes your application stand out. So considering whom you're getting your recommendations from, the chances are that you know you are actually getting you're actually standing at a different stage than other people, because everyone has done internships, everybody is coming from good background, they have some amazing scores as well, but recommendation is not something that you get easily. So work on this, and Nimisha, I think so you can move on to the next slide. So a piece of advice from my side is that how to approach the professors first. So I think so the best way to approach professor is through an email. Approach him professionally, him or her, and I think so that's the best way. That's how I approach my professor. Also, whom would you want to approach? So someone who knows you, who shares a connection with you, under whom you worked. So it can be a supervisor, a mentor, or a professor. So any one of these, because they know you better and they will be more inclined to refer you. Now, this is also very important. You should ask your recommenders at least 2 months before the application deadline. If they will be actually providing a recommendation letter to you. So I actually approached my professors a year before, and it doesn't always have to be that way. 2 months is a good enough time, but really you need to approach them beforehand and find out that okay, these will be the people who will be recommending me. You have to go, so they will be directly sending the recommendations to the university. So you need to provide their contact information and everything to the university, and then the university will be in direct contact with your professors and your recommenders. So that's how it works. um, Also, yeah, you can, if you are in a very very good understanding with your recommenders, you can also ask them to include your specific achievements, or ask them to write the recommendation letter in a certain way. Sometimes there will be instances when they will ask you to provide a recommendation draft. So I think so it would be wise to for you to write these three recommendation drafts with slight differences so that they're not overlapping. Uh, but you might have to provide them with a draft sometimes. Persistence is key. So there is no harm in you reminding them that they have not, if the deadline is approaching and they've not submitted the recommendation, just be polite, gently remind them that the deadline is approaching, and so please submit my recommendation. So I think so that's all for LORs. Now we can move to our profiles now. Okay, Anushka.
okay, so all right, just give me a minute. Okay, so I'll be introducing my profile, the profile that I applied with for my masters, as well as what I think worked in my favor, and yeah, just all of that in general and how my journey was. So I received admits from Stanford University, from University of British Columbia with a fully funded program, along with a TA-ship and a scholarship. Then from Texas A&M University with funding, from University of Michigan Ann Arbor with funding, from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, University of Texas at Austin, UCLA, and Wageningen University and Research, which is a college in Netherlands. My rejection was from University of Toronto. Yeah, so their loss. But anyway, moving on. So I applied with a GPA of 8.78. And my GRE score was 325 out of 340, and I had a 5 on my writing skills. For TOEFL, I had 101. I would say this is not a great score. You should probably try to score a little better. But I just skirted into the 110 domain, so it's fine. I didn't have to give it again. For internships, I was a part of the MyTax research intern at McMaster University. Other than that, I was also a research intern at IIT Delhi, where I wrote a paper which was recently published. This paper was around environmental chemistry, green chemistry, textile industry, uska wastewater kaise use hota hai, ye sab. Then I had another research intern at Delhi Greens, which I did for over 6 months. Uh, this was about atmospheric water generators. Some of it was water policy, water pricing in Delhi, water supply systems, and I really, really liked the work. It was a 2 month intern, but I did it for 6 months because the work was very interesting. Then my first internship was at the Center for Science and Environment in New Delhi, which I did after my first year. और तब मुझे कुछ आता नहीं था, and I learned a lot while working there because first year में we never really do anything related to our streams, right? And this was the place where I realized that this is something that I really like and probably want to make a career out of. Other than that, I was also a project intern at NTPC Noida, where I worked on a little more technical aspect. Thoda MATLAB Python coding से I made graphs and water based assessment किया था हमने of two areas in Haryana based on their fluoride content in their water, and it's actually a classified thing, so I should not be talking about it. But yeah, that is what that so I think I had a lot of internships in general. That was a good point, but I was applying for research masters. I was not applying for professional masters. But research projects मेरे पास ज़्यादा नहीं थे. I had one conference publication, that too not at a great place. I just wanted to have some sort of publication, so I sent it anyway. And I had one research paper which did not get approved in time. It actually got approved like 2 months back. But I was always very anxious कि मैं बिना publications के apply कर रही हूँ, so no one will take me. But that's not how it goes. Even if you don't have publications, and this is across streams, by the way, you can apply without publications, you will still get it. You can apply without internships, and with a lot of publications, you might still get it. There is no one thing which makes your application. My application is not this one research paper and one conference publication. My application is right up from my GPA to my extracurriculars. वो पूरी चीज देखेंगे. वो ऐसा नहीं करेंगे कि they'll pick out one person and say अरे इसकी तो 6 publication है, इसको ले लेते हैं, इसकी 0 है, इसको नहीं लेते हैं. That is not how it works. That's what I thought, कि no one's going to take me because I don't have publications. But it does not matter at all. You have to convince them that you deserve a spot. Okay, that is the whole thing. So you can convince them with a bad GPA, you can convince them with no professional experience, and you might not be able to convince them even if you have this GPA, 10 years of work experience. You might still not be able to convince them. So it's a lot about that, how you portray yourself and what you want to work on. Other than that, for my extracurriculars, I am the editor in chief of DTU Times. I was also a part of a number of mentorship initiatives, and I also started a literary magazine for women in this college. and I was the secretary at our literature society as well. So out of these, I think the only one that I mentioned in my SOP most of the times was being the editor in chief at DTU Times, because I felt like this was a very important part of my profile. And a lot of people told me ki, it's not that important, you can remove it, but I knew that it was a very integral factor for me, that I wanted to mention, and that I learned to work in teams at this society. Okay, so I did not think ki this is something I should not include. So what I would suggest is that even if someone tells you, ki this might not be an ideal thing to include, but your gut tells you ki okay, this is something that makes me, this is the reason why I'm applying to a master's, then include it. किसी और की advice पे उतना ज़्यादा मत जाओ. Other than that, for me, the easiest part of the entire process had to be actually applying. SOP लिखना, ये सब, वो फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट क्रिएट करना सबका, ये सब बहुत इजी होता है, because I always knew I wanted to do this, so that came easily to me. However, I was very emotionally attached to my statement of purpose, and that was 3-4 pages long, and I had to cut it down to 1 page at certain places. तो मुझसे कुछ हटाया नहीं जा रहा था, मैं मार्जिन वगैरह चेंज करी थी, and people were like, what are you doing, this is not how you go about it. So I would say don't be very attached to what you're writing, you will have to cut it down, because एक पेज नहीं में तुम सब कुछ नहीं लिख पाओगे. You would want to achieve, you would want to list all of your internships, all of your publications, everything, childhood anecdotes, सब कुछ include करने का मन करेगा, but वो नहीं कर सकते. So you will have to cut down. So that is something that I learned. A lot of editing had to go into this. So your SOP is also a living document. It has to be tuned according to each university. Why I think I got these admits was because मैंने हर university को standalone देखा. When I was applying to Stanford, I was not even thinking about, say, UT Austin. When I was applying to UT Austin, I had completely forgotten कि मेरा Michigan का भी application था. I was just targeting one university, उसके faculty, उसकी profile, उसके research centers, and I was completely engrossed in that process. जब तक मेरा UT Austin का draft नहीं हो जाता, I would not move on to UCLA. So that is how I went about it. Some people like to do simultaneously sari SOPs. That's not what I did. So I would suggest, my piece of advice would be कि एक college उठाओ, उसकी application पूरी complete करो. Obviously keep revising it all the time, but don't do all of it at once, because you will also get confused. Okay, कि कहाँ पे कौन सी faculty है, यहाँ पे मुझे क्या करना है, वहाँ पे क्या करना है. जितना customize करोगे उतना अच्छा होगा. बहुत जगह prompts भी different होते हैं. Some SOPs want to hear about your childhood. Some explicitly Tamu mentioned कि I do not want to hear about your childhood, so I had to remove that part. So ऐसा होता है. Like, if read the prompt, that would be my key piece of advice for writing your SOP. That read your prompt. That is extremely important. Every college has a different SOP prompt. If you answer all the questions in those prompts, then you're good to go. And don't include anything that they haven't asked. जो क्वेश्चंस पूछे हैं वो आंसर करो. अपने बचपन की कहानी और ये सब मत सुनाओ. If they've not asked for it, if they've asked for it, they are asked for it. If they want a personalized statement, please include it. So I think what worked in my favor was I wrote a good enough SOP and a very good diversity statement, because I had a lot of personal experiences in DTU which contributed to not having my research was very inclined towards serving people from disadvantaged backgrounds, and that's what I wanted to do in general as well. So I think those two things were what worked in my favor. And other than that, I think, yeah, that's it. That was my profile. Not a lot of actual research work with publications. However, I did a lot of practical research at places like IIT Delhi and especially NTPC. So it's not like you cannot have ऐसे जरूरी नहीं है कि तुम DTU की lab में जा रहे हो तभी तुम research कर रहे हो, या फिर you're going to an IIT and working in the lab. That is not the only way to do research. You can sit at home with your computer and do research as well. That also counts. So don't put yourself down thinking that this is not the conventional path, so it's wrong. It's not wrong, and you can do very well even if you pursue that as well. That's it, I think, from my side. If you guys have any personal questions about my profile, so you can do that at the end, and all the questions will be answered. Let's just get us done with our sheets जो हमने बनाई है, and then we'll take your questions. So yeah, you can raise your hands then. I think Ariba or Nimisha, which of you want to go next?
Yeah, I think I'll go next.
Okay.
And then, right. So, guys, I applied to 7 places and I got through two, Stanford and UC Berkeley. I was rejected from U Toronto, UBC, MIT, Columbia, and LSE. From like in where I applied for this course in environmental economics. I would like to say that I got through MEng, which is an equivalent of MTech. So it's not an MS; it's actually an MEng in civil and environmental engineering. Now you can read the stats. Most of the places where I applied to did not require. Well, yeah, they did not require the GRE, which is why I could appear, which is why I could apply to these places. My internships were my tax. Then I was a lab trainee at DTU. I worked in 2 labs. Then I was a summer intern at Teach for Green Delhi. And other than that, I have had 2 conference publications, 1 journal publication, and 2 of my papers are under review. They were also under review then, and yeah, like they're still under review. So the thing is that I was very heavily invested in volunteer work or unpaid internships and college societies. So my college, I led IGTS, the Indian Game Theory Society. Then I was a part of Nityangana, and I was also the environmental tech head at SCEE. For my volunteer work, I had back last year just signed up for this international organization group of volunteers from all over the world. It's called Geo Aqua Watch, and they work with digital products like remote sensing, etc., to help with like all troubles waters. Then SPICMK Japan, India Against COVID is something which I helped uh, which I helped find when COVID was at its peak. Then I came across something which is known as citizen science. It's basically when lay people who are not really invested in STEM or do not have any idea about science as such uh, can still help contribute to research projects which require, say, surveys or a lot of monitoring. So like that, so like I was involved with those projects. Then there's this NGO nearby to my place, Sambhav. Anushka also accompanied me once, if she remembers.
Yes, I do.
And then there's this dance place I again volunteered. It's called Sarvam Foundation. So yeah, this was me. And if you will bear with me, I'd like to tell you why I applied to these places where I applied to. So I wasn't particularly keen on the US actually, uh, because like how Anushka mentioned earlier, but during university shortlisting, that well, I mean, if you're in a country, you're going to be there, and especially if you're taking a loan, and if you want to say pursue a PhD also, you're not going to be there for just 2 years, right? You're probably going to be there for 5 years or maybe 6 years, or you may just end up building a life over there. So you need to be really comfortable of where you're going, with the people, with the thought processes, etc. So that was something which did not sit well with me, and I was like, okay, if I get into Stanford, maybe then I'll consider US. But other than that, no, I want to go into Canada. And I thought I had a fair chance because of my MyTax internship. MyTax is a program between like Canada and foreign countries. It's a partnership thing, and you get like a scholarship if you get admitted to like one of those colleges which are listed with MyTax. So I think, and maybe I wasn't ambitious enough as well. So maybe there was something where I had underestimated myself. But well, yeah, I did end up applying to MIT for pop culture reasons, and then Columbia because it was a free application, and UK. One of my professors, because of my interest um, in sustainability, in mainstreaming ideas, in mainstreaming environmental solutions. Some of you must have heard of nature-based solutions, etc. So because of my interest in that, one of my professors told me about this course at LSE. But again, economics is something which I did not even study in 11th and 12th. So I had very little chance of getting in, but still it was a great experience doing an application which was completely different, right? From which was about completely different research. So yeah, there was that. So what I want to tell you is that again there must be like from like why I want to tell you this is that there might be once you do your research about why you want to go to a university, you will come across hundreds of courses which are related to environment or civil. But again, you will need to be very sure of what their coursework is, what you will be actually learning, and what chances, what career opportunities, what future research opportunities you will have gained after your year of education or after your 2 years of education, and what kind of work will you be able to do afterwards. So there's that. Another question which I get a lot, and I'll answer just right away, is why I chose Stanford over Berkeley, which is slightly more sought after than Stanford in terms of environmental engineering, at least. Like again, Stanford is pretty good. I mean, who am I to say that something is better than the other? But UC Berkeley has a little bit of more of an edge, or so I'm told, in at least environmental engineering. It's a very simple reason. UC Berkeley was a year long program, and that amounts to like roughly 9 months with say vacations and your breaks. And Stanford is a 2 year thing with much of interdisciplinary work and networking also. So like if you want your work to be a little more flexible, a little more accommodating, with a lot more electives, or a lot more freedom like that, then Stanford is better that way. So yeah, that's my profile. Ariba, I'll just move on to your slide. Give me a second, please. Yeah.
So yeah, this is my profile. Actually, मेरा पहले से decided नहीं था कि I wanted to do masters. It was only after I started attending the environmental engineering program at DTU that I got interested into pursuing a master's degree in this. So basically, like if there are मतलब somewhere अगर तुम में से कोई like मतलब interested है in pursuing a master's degree, then what are the things that I think so you should first the things that you should keep in mind is that first of all, key is this the thing that you want to associate yourself to? And I thought that this is very fulfilling for my conscience, that since I was very passionate about bringing about a change and helping society in general. So I think so through this program I could do that. And so if you have a passion, an interest, a research interest maybe, to pursue your career in the certain field, like whatever it is, so I think so then only you should go ahead with a master's degree. And think over it. Also, it's not that easy. There are so many other things that you need to calculate, like finances and other things. So just try to keep these things in mind, and then see like where you want to go ahead, or if you want to really pursue a master's degree, or you want to choose an MBA program. So like it actually depends on who you as a person are and what you want yourself to associate with. So these were my admits. I got I received admits from University of Michigan, British Columbia, and Colorado. Then I got rejected from University of Berkeley. Um, so my CGPA at the time was 8.25. I secured a 7.5 band score. These were my internships. So I actually did only 3 internships. I was a climate change researcher at IURA. So this was the internship that I was doing while I was applying for the universities. So it was a very nice internship where I really got to learn many new things. So I was working on multiple projects. Like we were working on CCDR, which is a climate change climate change development report that was submitted to the World Bank, and then we were also working on GHG emission modeling. So I was working with MATLAB and Simulink and simulation to really model out the GHG emissions for different states of India, particularly Gujarat and Maharashtra. So I learned many new things in that. I was actually trying to experiment, which sector, like which specialization I want to take. Like even in environmental engineering there are further many branches. So to be very sure, like where my interests lie, you can always experiment through internships, and that's a very good way to understand, where your interests lie. So then I was an industrial trainee at Delhi Board, where I worked in the IT department. Um, so there I was working in the mapping cell, where they were working with ArcGIS, mapping the sewage system and the water supply system of Delhi. So it's a very intricate network, and it was very interesting to see the kind of work that these people are doing. It was also I got to learn a lot of things from there. I was a research intern at DTU, and during my internship, I performed a literature review on the applications of nanoceramics in the environmental industry. So as you can see from my profile, that I was not inclined I was not doing just one thing. There were multiple things that I was looking at, and I was trying to explore, which, you know, where I want to go further from here, or which field I want to delve deeper. So I think so internships can help you a lot understand this better. And I would recommend you, if any one of you is confused in, you want to pursue a master's degree but you don't know in which field. So I think so internships can be a great help for you to understand, where you want to go. Then research projects, yeah. So I had one research paper under review, just like Nimisha. It was under review even then, and now, even like right now, it's under review. So that's how laboriously long they take. So it's not very easy to come across with a paper. It takes a laboriously long time, and you can see that it's still not done. So my extracurriculars were, I was a member of IET. So it's an electrical society in DTU. So it was like I worked with Arduino and robotics like during the first and the second year. It was interesting, but it also like uh, delineates that I had interest in technology as well, and that's how like I wanted to go further with my career. So I wanted to go into environmental engineering, but also combine it with technology. So I think so that's what I wanted to do, and I think so. Going through all these experiences has is what has formed this idea. Then I was an educator at Sankalp NGO, and I was also writing blogs on WordPress. Uh, environmental blogs. So I think so. I did mention it in my application, and I also mentioned the link. So I think so. Like that could also be a reason for you know showing that I'm a passionate candidate, and I really want to bring about a change. Uh, so another thing that I think so you should include in your SOP is how you can your degree or the program that you're choosing. Like how can it be helpful for the society as a whole, or how can it be helpful for the people who are connected with you. So all these things also do matter. They are also looking at like what are your ambitions, where you want to go further. So these things really will help if you want to be an agent of change, if you're passionate enough to be a transformative leader, and you want to really bring about a change in the field that you're working in. It should be like delineated in your profile. So that's all about my profile. I think so. We can move forward to the Q&A section.
Thank you so much. Uh, I must say, on behalf of everyone, that it was indeed a very insightful and extremely helpful presentation by all of you. Now, we request you guys to please answer the questions we curated from Google Forms. So, the first question is, what, according to you, was the pivotal factor in you getting admission to your desired university? Was it the research work, some other achievement apart from academics or LORs? Now, we all know that these things are of immense value and make you case, but what do you think is very particular to your application that helped you the most?
Yeah, I would say like it actually depends like on all these factors in a combination. There's not one single factor that might be the reason why you receive the admit. So it's a combination of all these factors. Definitely SOPs and LORs, they are just the only form of communication that you're making with the university. So they have a direct impact. But apart from that, like uh, I just think that matlab, it's just a combination. I think so. Nimisha and Anushka will also agree with me. It's
Yeah,
just a single thing.
yeah. So adding on to what Ariba said, looking at my own personal profile, I would say two things that would work in my favor. Would be the fact that I chose universities where I actually wanted to apply to, and where ऐसा काम हो रहा था जो मैंने किया हुआ था या मुझे करना था. So I knew something about what research I'm writing about. I didn't apply to Berkeley, MIT, because I, even though these are great places, because I was very confused कि मैं यहाँ जाके मैं कुछ add नहीं कर पाऊंगी. But जहाँ पे भी I thought कि this is a place where I think I can add to their research, yeah, I have some unique insight, मैंने सिर्फ वहीं अप्लाई किया. So I think that was the highlight of my profile. Nimisha, what about you?
Yeah, so I completely agree with Ariba that yeah, like it's a combination of what works, what doesn't work, and with Anushka that you need to align well. You need to align your application with the colleges you're applying to. But again, looking at my own personal profile, I think again, I mean, like, there's no way of knowing why I got through or why I did not get through. But something which I really stand by is that I knew that I wanted to pursue a masters abroad since like, say class 11 or 12 because I knew I wanted to become a scientist then. So I think I was able to convey my dedication and my commitment to my chosen field very well, and that my honesty was convincing enough. Like I mean, I did not really. I did not have a lot of internships in core as such, but I had a lot of lab experience, so that was able to come through. Or my passion for working in water, it like they could tell, or like it came through that I wanted to do something and then I acted upon it and I got some results, so whatever they were. So yeah, I think that is what worked for me. And also maybe just I think a lot of universities value you not just working on one thing, that you're not just a one dimensional personality, that you have some other interests which you can pursue side by side. So I think that is also of importance. Thank you.
So there is this recent question that came up in the chat box. It's like, I am in mechanical engineering but want to pursue masters in environment. So how to go about it?
Well, you can definitely do that. First of all, I would like to say that, and then like I think so. When we're talking about diversity, it is also diversity in background, and these colleges are also looking into from which field you're coming from, and they're like I talked to one of my seniors in the University of Michigan. So what he told me was that like there were people coming from all sorts of background, from uh, law, from English background, so all sorts of background, and they'll be accepting you. If you want to go ahead with creating an environmental engineering sort of profile, then I think so you should start with focusing more onto research areas which actually combine both mechanical engineering and environmental engineering. And I think so sustainability is a good place to start with. Renewable energy is also, I think so, where you can integrate both fields. So definitely it is a very powerful combination.
I would like to add to that. So if you're in mechanical, you're probably interested in energy related fields. I might be wrong, but I think mostly mechanical वाले लोग जो side shift करते हैं वो उसमें related, they're more interested in that. For example, Stanford has a completely different profile under civil engineering, which is atmosphere and energy, which is completely focused on this. Then there are colleges which have separate profiles on energy. So you might find a sector which is working completely on this, और mechanical के बहुत सारे बच्चे होंगे उसमें. I know someone who went to Michigan and studied mechanical in their undergrad, and they're now pursuing sustainable systems, so which is a part of the environmental science uh, background. So you can switch domains, but be sure that the colleges that you're shortlisting, एक दो जगह ऐसा होगा कि तुम्हें एक्स्ट्रा डॉक्यूमेंटेशन या किसी प्रोफेसर से ये लिखवाना होगा कि ये बच्चा is talented or equipped enough to switch domains. Like I remember this happening in a college in Netherlands. So you need to go through the university requirements very well when you're shortlisting university. But yeah, there are domain switching is allowed at a lot of places, and even if it's not allowed, you can be don't shy away from mailing them and asking them ki I think I'm qualified. Your website says ki hum nahi lenge people who are not from civil and environmental backgrounds, but make your case. Mail them, make your case, and make it personalized, and you might get through those uh, barriers. Yeah.
Okay, and there's this repeated question that which semester is the best time to start application or preparing for this?
Preparation in general, as we mentioned in our timeline, was July. So July would be. I don't think तुम्हारे semesters का system भी थोड़ा अलग है. Like you guys are still in your second semester, so I'm not sure what semester would it be, but July before your applications. So, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so
applying in your fourth year.
yeah, conventionally that would
Yeah.
be your second last summer, right?
Yeah.
End of third year, basically.
Before your fourth year starts.
Yeah, before yeah,
Yeah,
that,
The
exactly.
month before your fourth year starts, whatever semester that is. Yeah.
So basically, it would be the sixth semester.
after it.
After the sixth semester.
Yeah.
And does the reputation of DTU matters in the selection process or any other college as in general?
I will say no, because I'll tell you what. So you have this drop-down box which says where did you get your bachelor's from, right? And if it's good enough for you to be recognized over there, you're sorted. Um, I think a question on similar lines would be, should you get an LOR from an assistant professor? Stuff like that. It doesn't matter if they can vouch for you, vouch for your research, vouch for your character. What matters is what you bring to the table. You will get people like, so Anushka and I were on these Stanford groups, right? Or India to USA groups, whatever.
Yeah.
We will come across people from these colleges we've not even heard the name of. We cannot even like put together कि ये कौन से state में होंगे. So
The thing is कि most of them have a lot of good work experience. So they're going at 25, 27 for a course that we're going at 22. But it's मतलब makeup हो ही जाता है, इतना कोई वो नहीं है. There you'll find IITians there, and you'll also find people from colleges which are A B C D G G. ये सब भी होता है. So your college matters, but it's not a big factor. If you did nothing during your undergrad, your college will not be able to help you sail through. This is not like a placement season कि तुम बस अच्छे कॉलेज से हो तो प्लेसमेंट लग जाएगी. इट्स नॉट दैट. नो वन केयर्स अबाउट योर कॉलेज, एंड दोज आर द फैक्ट्स.
yeah, having
Okay.
said this, अभी तुम DTU में हो तो तुम्हें लगता होगा कि अच्छा कॉलेज
Yeah.
नहीं है, but honestly it is a good
It's a
enough
very good
college.
college. Yeah.
And the next question that came up is how important are corporate or research internships? Should someone still pursue corporate internships if they are very interested, they want to pursue an MS degree?
Okay. So I Nimisha, do you want to take this up?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't done any corporate internship as such, but I will recommend that make up your mind. Like maybe explore everything by second year, but by third year you should definitely know what you want to do. And see, even if you do a corporate internship, I think how you frame it in your SOP matters. So you might be doing a corporate internship, but you would still be able to, if you can express what you learned, what your takeaways were, and maybe managing teams or managing with large data sets, stuff like that, and you want to do something similar once you do your MS or during your MS, maybe you can sell it off. But I would still say that if you have an opportunity to work with a research internship as against a corporate internship in the third year, or overall in general, then maybe go for the research internship. But
I
again,
would, like corporate, maybe there's a lot of research based profiles / environmental profiles. Like EY has climate science internships. Um, there's a lot of Deloitte has environmental consulting. बहुत सारे ऐसे overlapping domains है. If you're not sure, go for them. Maybe then you will realize if you like corporate life in general and want to continue with that, or maybe you want to, go for जस्ट बिकॉज तुम एमएस कर रहे हो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि तुम्हें अकेडमिया में ही जाना है उसके बाद भी यू कैन डू अ कॉर्पोरेट जॉब बट इट्स यू आर टेकिंग अ डिसीजन अबाउट राइट नाउ कि अभी यू वांट टू गो इनटू कॉर्पोरेट और अकेडमिया so there's an overlapping options are also available. It's not that hard to find, and if you're doing it, if you're sure, like I think the question said that this person is sure about what they want to do, and if you're still
Yeah.
doing corporate internships just because anxiety or दूसरे लोग कर रहे हैं, it doesn't matter. Just don't do it out of anxiety just because
Okay,
other
so
people are doing it. Yeah.
there's a very relatable question again. Many student wants to pursue MS, but they confused when it comes to preparing and applying for programs. So when should one be looking in that direction and considering?
I think we
I think so,
already
Nimisha.
answered.
You should switch to
Yeah,
the
this is
timelines slide.
Yeah, July of
I'll do that.
Yeah.
no, it was just July was the timeline. The question basically said that if you're still confused about MS and that was answered by like you should be figuring out before third year.
yeah.
Oh, also listen, like if you so you're confused between like what program to apply in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, so the thing is that I think U Toronto, or was it UBC? I don't remember. I think it was UBC, which allowed you to submit multiple applications.
हाँ यार UBC में था ये.
UBC में था. So basically, what most universities will do is one application you can apply to one course at a time. Okay, but like places like UBC, they will allow you to submit like 2-3 applications, obviously with a fee, to multiple courses. So maybe like I applied to 7 places, Anushka applied to 9 places. I applied to different courses. I applied to the environmental economics course, right? But so you can do that, but again, it would have to be at different places if that also somewhat caters to the question.
Okay, and there is one more question. How did you aim for what to do after college change after first and second year? Because my aim for the future is changing almost every day, and I'm not able to realize what's best.
Big relate. हमारा भी aim is also changing every day. My personal reason was that I am too young to be a corporate slave. मुझे भी थोड़ी और पढ़ाई करनी है. That's literally my honest reason. I do not want to. I feel like I still have it in me to study a bit more. And जैसे ही मुझे लगेगा कि okay no अब मुझे पैसा बनाना है तो I'll switch to corporate. But अभी I don't want to sell my soul to corporations. So I was like this is not something I want to do.
What does college change mean exactly? No. Sorry, did I?
How did you
No,
aim
it's
of what to do?
it's in the chat box. It was just like, what do
I
you do
think
after college
yeah,
change?
I think maybe it's directed at Ariba because we तो mentioned कि हमें first year से हमारा कोई change of plan नहीं हुआ था.
Okay. Yeah.
Achha, oh,
Yeah.
plan
Basically.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's what.
basically you do internships, you see like मतलब कि what you're good at, मतलब you ठीक है, like just experiment. I think so. It's basically that, and then like when you start working, maybe going to the lab. I used to go to the lab like almost every day whenever I used to find like between the classes. So that way, like I was seeing okay, what are the different research that is going on inside the lab, or I think so like मतलब really diving into the subject, really understanding, what environment or what like the subject that you're interested in is really about. So just if you're passionate enough, if you really, you know, just focus on these things, I think so you will realize sooner or later what you want to do and go ahead. So
See, I would also like to mention that you guys can just unmute yourselves and ask questions.
Oh, I think that stands the risk of multiple people opening their mics at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
We can ask them to raise hands and
Just raise hands and we'll just unmute them
Yeah,
for
that
one
that
at a
would
time.
be better. Yes.
Uh, Divyansh,
It's Divyansh. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. I have a doubt like how do I figure out between MBA versus MS because both are lucrative. Please help.
Okay, MBA versus MS. Yeah, basically, if you want to go into economics and you want to go into management, then probably MBA. But if you want to go into research or you want to stick to your particular field, then obviously an MS. I think so. That just like simply tells you what the difference. But what you want to choose, it really depends on what kind of person you are and what you want to, do.
Divyansh, I want to know two things. A, what do you mean by lucrative? And secondly, like if you're considering an MBA, is it in India or abroad?
Specifically for abroad and by lucrative, I mean I find my interest in both. Actually, I feel like I'm a very diverse person, and every day different things pop up, and I feel like yes, this is a thing where I can continue.
What year are you in?
Sorry,
What year are you in?
first year, second semester.
All right. So I would just recommend doing a lot of internships at this point in time to figure out where your interests actually lie. Because I mean, frankly speaking, it also took me a lot of time to figure out that something is a hobby, something something is I like to do it once in 2 months, or maybe I take it up as a passion project and I'm bored of it after a couple of weeks. So you might still like it, but you might not want to do it every day for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. Firstly that, and secondly, I have never considered MBA as an option. But I like if I do at some point in time want to go into a startup, I think I would be completely okay learning everything from scratch, or maybe doing something like an executive MBA after WorkX or something like that. So that is my answer. But yeah, I would just recommend doing a lot of internships for you at this point in time, because MS lucrative is something very different from an MBA lucrative. Anushka, you might want to add something.
अकॉर्डिंग टू मी अभी फर्स्ट ईयर में हो, इंटर्नशिप करो और देखो तुम्हें क्या अच्छा लगता है, एंड या दैट्स अबाउट इट. You'll learn a lot from which kind of culture you like, and there are a lot of mixed MS programs which are also like like MIM hota hai,
Like
or
leadership programs as well.
yes, there are a lot of programs in MS also which are very overlapping with management side of things. तो वो MEM होता है, MIM होता है, lots of different stuff. Business analytics में masters होता है. Then just look into all of that, but at a later stage. अभी just gather as much experience as you can. Try to work different internships, and yeah, that would be mine.
Yeah, and I think keep talking to seniors as well, because they might be able to share their own experiences. Like we're still, just freshly out of college. We haven't even started our master's classes yet. Maybe talk to people who are doing their MS already and their
Yeah.
MBA already, so that will also give you a better idea.
Yep.
Okay, and
Thank
someone
you.
is very curious to know that what was the reason of rejection from U Toronto?
Nimisha, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, so like, okay, let me go
हम
back to my
ऐसे
slide and I
resume
will.
mail करते हैं और हम पूछते हैं कि हमें क्यों नहीं लिया, हम
नहीं
सब
अनुष्का,
कुछ
तूने
करते
तो
हैं.
क्राइंग फेस लगाया भाई यू टोरंटो पे, तू बता तू रुक भाई.
Dude, I don't know. You don't have to skip to that
Oh,
slide.
let's hear the reason of this ulta smiley
My
face.
reasons are the same as Nimisha's reasons.
अच्छा, मेरा रीजन तो
Sure.
ऐसे मैं अपनी दिखा दूं स्लाइड में तो रो दूंगी फिर. रुको, अब बताओ भाई, तुम्हें हर कॉलेज का रिजेक्शन रीजन चाहिए क्या? बताओ, इतने इनसेंसिटिव लोग, डैम.
मतलब we're taking out 2-3 hours of our lives and talking to you, and you're asking us आप यहाँ से reject क्यों हुए?
मैं बताती हूँ, मेरे को ये नहीं पता मैं एक्सेप्ट क्यों हुई हूँ, मैं ये कैसे बता दूँ कि मैं रिजेक्ट क्यों हुई हूँ. But okay, jokes apart, I will tell you what. One of my so obviously after the obviously you know about my like we've discussed a part of our application, and there might be many things which might have gone not gone like well with the admissions committee, starting with maybe my profile was not aligned as well as they would have hoped for. They are very small classrooms, and like I said, sorry see, what happens is that if you're an 8 on 10, right, they might always get somebody who's a 9 on 10, and that will cost you your seat. So there's that. And why, like, one thing which happened with me was that in a couple of places I could not get all of my professors to submit an LOR. So that was something definitely on me. But by that time, I had like already gotten into Stanford, and because of something which I said earlier, also that I said that I'll consider US if I get into Stanford. So I had to, yeah, I just was like, okay, ab Stanford ho gaya, so maybe I will not fret about this. So that was one. And secondly, one of my professors, they submitted an LOR saying that I highly recommend Nimisha for Stanford, and they submitted it everywhere. So, so it kind of got manifested. And I mean, if I was on the admissions committee, I would not know how to react. And I mean, I saw a Hollywood movie once where these people have contacts within university. Now, I don't know if it is fiction or not, but like, an admissions committee person from Yale was calling somebody from like to in I think Princeton, and they were saying like, हाँ हाँ नहीं हमने नहीं लिया उस student को, तुम ले सकते हो student को. So like if that happened with my application, they're like नहीं नहीं निमिषा को हमने ले लिया, अब आप मत लो. Yeah, they're just being like नहीं रितु तो बेटा Stanford ही जा, हम नहीं ले रहे तेरे को. So yeah.
एक और रीजन जो है कि टोरंटो का प्रोग्राम इज वेरी सिविल इंजीनियरिंग बेस्ड, जस्ट बाय द वे इट्स नॉट एन एनवायरमेंटल इंजीनियरिंग प्रोग्राम. So most of their research was also not very, water policy related, was very wastewater treatment type, not exactly my area of interest. But I had applied anyway because I thought mujhe edge milega because of my tax and stuff. But whatever, we are dealing with the loss.
But I think the U Toronto MSc program was really interesting, and I would have loved to consider it had I gotten in.
Even if you were from environment and it was more civil based.
I mean, so the MASC is something which you can actually build upon yourself. Like they would have taken you only if they found a faculty which is like there to guide you, right? But an MASC is a Master's in Applied Sciences, which is a midway between a completely technical degree, which I would now be doing. I mean, I think I would be doing an MN and an MS. So that way. But
Okay, so
happier questions, please.
more
Yeah.
or less all of them are wrapped up. There's the last one: is research work important when applying to course based masters or just in terms would work?
या इसका कोई वन स्टॉप आंसर नहीं है. मेरा बहुत ज्यादा मतलब मेरी इंटर्नशिप्स में रिसर्च वर्क था, तो डिपेंड्स ऑन द काइंड ऑफ इंटर्नशिप. इफ इट्स रेलेवेंट टू द फील्ड, रेलेवेंट टू व्हाट यू आर अप्लाइंग टू, इट काउंट्स. So yeah, you don't need to
Okay.
specifically go out of your way, trouble yourself if you feel like you have enough internships and you've done something substantial there. But of course it's recommended, but मतलब तुम्हारे पास बहुत कुछ है तो तुम्हें करने की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत नहीं है.
To me, to answer this question is completely like another webinar in itself, that what is research. And research is something beginning from you making surveys, to you standing in a lab, to you analyzing the results. So like in your internships, you would be like, if they are core internships, if they are STEM based internships, if they are lab internships, then you will need to be then you are involved in research work already. But if by research work you mean working on papers as such, I would recommend it definitely, at least beginning on a manuscript, so that even if it is under review, the admissions committee or whatever, they know that you have some experience, or you have an idea about what technical writing is. So like even if you do not get around to publishing it, or even just for your sake, right? Like but if that is what you mean by research work, it's good to at least have read at least 20 research papers before you get into a core degree.
Okay, so there's just one final question. Last one. Do you have any parting remarks or suggestion for DTU's current undergraduate environment engineers or civil engineers, for the students generally who want to pursue their masters abroad?
Ma'am,
Okay,
to
we'll
make
start with
it,
Arifa.
ma'am, just a second, to make it more elaborative, one key takeaway that you have in your entire journey in DTU, that we should follow this, we should not follow this, something, just one major key takeaway.
मुझसे मत पूछना. I have very politically incorrect answers for this. I am shying away from this question.
And you're asking me like one key takeaway. This is like asking me to mention like my favorite book. We can't stop.
Okay, ma'am, आप दो बता दो फिर.
So बता दो.
Climbing prejudice and Wuthering Heights. All right. Okay, I'll just give like whatever comes as a top of my head. Pe. DTU is a great place for developing your personality in ways other than just like academically. So I will say like do not discount on that experience. Like be a part of your societies. Obviously, in your first and second year, by third year only stick around if you have value in it because you need to like start focusing your time in proper internships and your grades, etc. And secondly, whoever like whichever senior tells you to not study or not be like "Okay, grades don't matter as such," please stop like talking to them. Because like grades matter because you never know where a challenge might come and you might not be able to perform well on a future test, right? So like I'm not saying that तुम सब कुछ give up करके बिल्कुल मतलब ऐसे हो जाओ कि नहीं मेरे को तो पढ़ना ही है और मेरे को हर उसमें full marks चाहिए, ऐसा भी नहीं है. But please like do put in the due effort, and especially if it is something like code, you will only benefit by reading your texts and your books or doing that extra research on Google, because you might stumble upon an idea which you might want to do further research on, or you might just get those you might have questions which you might want to explore just like that, or you might just like gain something of a phenomenon or stuff. I don't know, I think it really pays to know your subjects, and like to do well on your tests. So I think those would be two things which I tell you to do.
Okay, so that was it. Thank you.
Oh, एक सेकंड, अनुष्का और अरीबा भी तो आंसर करेंगे भाई.
नहीं मेरा
अच्छा,
तो
जितना
यही है कि
वॉल्यूबिलिटी और स्टैमिना मेरे पास नहीं है जितना अनुष्का और निमिषा बोल लेते हैं.
अच्छा अरीबा.
ऑल द बेस्ट. थैंक यू.
मेरे से ये
और
क्वेश्चन मत पूछो, मुझे बहुत पसंद नहीं है DTU. तो
उन्होंने
मतलब in
स्टार्टिंग में
general it's a
मेंशन
very
कर
good
दिया था
place.
मेरे पास पॉलिटिकल आंसर है.
No, I don't ask me.
कोई नहीं मैम, इट्स अ सेफ स्पेस, हम सुनने को तैयार हैं.
It's a safe space.
No, it is definitely not a safe space, and that is half the problem.
हाँ भाई.
And that's all I'm going to say. Yeah, continue.
नहीं but yeah.
Ariba ma'am, anything?
Like I think so Nimisha sums it up very well, so I think so I don't need to add anything, but I would just say like enjoy and don't fret over this process. Like it will happen, it will take time, but yeah, you will get across definitely. So just that.
And I guess Devansh has something to ask. He's raising his hand again.
Actually, I have something to comment. This webinar was awesome, and I thank all the organizing members and the speakers for it. It is clearly visible how much hard work you have, all you have put in this today, and I thank you for that.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's just sum it up. Thank you so much, Anushka ma'am, Nimisha didi, Ariba didi, all of you. It was really great knowing and learning how to get in, even if I would not, maybe. पता नहीं.
हाँ, यही मैंने भी यही किया था.
ये कैसा रैंप होगा भाई?
Yeah, this is actual key to success. जितना ड्रामा करो उतना अच्छा है.
I was just about to be like दीपांशु और साहस को कोई questions नहीं है क्या? और फिर दीपांशु तो अपना अलग. I don't know.
नहीं मेरे को तो उम्मीद ही नहीं है खुद से, तो questions तो मैं क्या ही पूछूं.
हाँ, अनुष्का is the person to go to.
Yeah.
इसको pester करो PM को.
Yeah.
Chalo, thank you ma'am for joining in. We'll wrap this webinar up.
संकल्प बाय बोल रहा है भाई.
Chalo. Yes ma'am. Final goodbye ma'am.
All right, thank you guys for
Thank you,
joining
ma'am.
me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
All right.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye
We
bye.
will share your LinkedIn IDs with the participants if they ask, and that's it. If
Yeah,
they have any
absolutely.
questions, they can
It's
ask.
just Nimisha Singla. You can look it up, and I mean, you can recognize.
Yeah,
it.
mine is also Anushka.
Mine is Ariba Khalid. Yeah.
And yeah, feel free to hit us up on LinkedIn. I'm sure we'd be happy to accommodate you with answer your
Yeah,
queries.
definitely.
We might have the need to put your LinkedIn accounts on the social media platforms.
I don't
Yeah.
mind personally.
Yeah,
LinkedIn
ma'am,
accounts आपके social media platforms पे डालने पड़ेंगे. लोग पूछ रहे हैं.
Oh हाँ, मतलब डाल दो.
मतलब I don't, but LinkedIn तो बहुत
हाँ,
easy to find
I don't
होता है.
mind. हाँ, exactly. नाम से
देख लो.
मतलब इतना effort तो कर ही सकते हो. Like for
हाँ.
people who've like sat here for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, sure, like, yeah, in
Okay.
kar do, dal do.
All right. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.